How's it going? My name's Connor Toole. I'm 6 feet 10 inches tall. Normally, I write, but tonight I'm getting drafted by the Utah Jazz in the NBA draft.
Oh, Connor!
Yeah. Nice to meet you, man. Thank you, man. You good? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll come down.
Get it in on the court, my man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're gonna be a star.
Time to go to Manhattan as the newest member of the Utah Jazz. How are you? Thank you. I'm drafted now. I should be getting numbers. That's what they said I should do.
All right, that was comedian Connor Toole convincing unsuspecting New Yorkers that he was indeed drafted by the Utah Jazz, and Connor is sitting in with me all show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We decided to just find the tallest person we could to talk basketball. We figured your credentials are good enough,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's really all you need to do, right, is just hit 6'10", and all of a sudden
and then
you're an expert.
You're an expert. So how many times have you played the I'm a basketball player card?
All the time, because every day I go outside, I get approached by people asking me if I'm a basketball player, and it's easier than disappointing them and saying that I'm not. Especially in New York. It's like I tell them, oh, do I play for the Nets? Do I play for the Knicks? They'll never know, but they kind of assume I'm on the practice squad.
No, I mean, both teams are absolutely terrible right now.
Exactly.
But do people call your bluff?
No one ever has. I think it's with the draft video. No one really wants to. They have the story, and that's good enough.
They have the story. They have the photo. Who cares if it's true? All right, we're going to put your basketball expertise to the test. Let's talk about last night's game. Of course, Trevon Blueitt from Xavier. He's our adrenaline performer presented by Toyota. Let's go places. 25 points for the junior. They face top-seeded Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. Connor, are you rooting for Xavier now because they're the lowest seed left in the tournament?
Yeah, because I had Arizona as my winner, so I have to root for them now. But yeah, I think they are, as the only double-digit seed in the tournament right now, they have to be sort of that fan favorite, at least.
I mean, Michigan's out. That was the team of destiny. They went out on Thursday night as well. I think Xavier now is the fan favorite, but I wouldn't go as far as calling them the Cinderella. I mean, this is a team that plays in the Big East, played in the Atlantic 10 for a long time. They have a really strong, robust program, 4 Sweet 16 since 2010, been to Elite Eights before, sent players to the NBA before. So I won't go as far as calling them a Cinderella, but it's still a great story.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a Cinderella, but the slipper is really big, so they're not the most classic Cinderella. But I think if they do keep this run going on, there's an argument to be made in hindsight. Yeah,
I mean, it's not VCU, it's not George Mason. The slipper's big.
It's like
a size 14
George Mason,
slipper.
Yeah.
Nobody's George Mason. Nobody's VCU. Of course, after Bill Murray's son, is an assistant coach at Xavier. So, of course, Bill Murray's at the game. He's a comedian, actor. You're a comedian as well. You know, Murray. Yeah, that was really nice of me, just put you on his level. You know, Bill Murray said after the game that his son, as an assistant coach, making the Elite Eight, feels about the same as the Cubs winning the World Series. To him,
I think he's a liar. But yeah, I mean, he's a parent. He has to be nice to his son. I think it's great that he's supportive, and it's great that they have sort of a mascot on the sideline for every single game that they're playing. But I mean, what was it? The Cubs took over 100 years to win a World Series. I don't know what Xavier's record has been, but I don't think it's been 100 years, and it's also. Well,
it's been never for Xavier to win the title, but
yeah, but it's also
before.
Xavier, and I mean, it's a great story, and if they do end up winning it, it'll be a hell of a run. But I don't see them as the Cubs. I think honestly, the win for the Toon Squad in Space Jam would be bigger than Xavier winning.
I don't know about that. This is a bold-faced lie, though. Bill Murray, we absolutely love you. Basically coined the term Cinderella story from Caddyshack. Absolutely love him, but no. This is just something you say as a parent because you're forced to. The losing side of Xavier, obviously, down goes Arizona. Sean Miller, another Final Four he shut out. And listen, this was a big one for Arizona. Considering the Final Four is in Phoenix this year, it was going to be pretty close to campus. They would have had a great home crowd. Miller, though, blamed himself. I mean, he really pointed the finger at himself, and I think that he actually does deserve quite a bit of the blame here. This was a tactical game where Miller was outcoached by his mentee, someone who used to be under him in Chris Mack at Xavier. And really what Mack figured out was if we play 2-3 zone, we force them to go over the top of us, we're going to be okay living with that outcome. And you know what? That outcome was really good because you had Arizona start to go cold from the outside, couldn't basically get the ball into the middle and down low to utilize their big men as much as they would like to. And let's be honest, I mean, it was just a better game plan. So I kind of agree with Coach Sean Miller. If he's putting the blame on himself, he said we didn't get our guys the best shots possible. I think that falls on the coach.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if you looked at the game, it was a very back and forth contest, and going into it, I don't think a lot of people thought it was going to be. And I think that's kind of the problem when you do have the former assistant coach, is you've taught them sort of everything they know. And when you teach them how to defeat your offense, and they actually institute that strategy, you're gonna have a hard time beating them.
Is it a new low when your mentee bees the mentor?
It is to an extent, but I also think it's sort of a weird compliment as well. It shows that you've done something right. Obviously, you don't want to prove to the world you did it right by losing. But he had a good game, or his mentee had a good game.
Yeah, Chris Mack had a great game, and now they're moving on. Excited. A couple things about Xavier that you may not know. Before they left Cincinnati to go to the tournament, they actually brought a ladder into the gym and practiced cutting down the nets.
That's a
bold move.
Strategy, yeah.
It's a bold move. We've heard of that of teams doing that in the past, but I'm not sure if it's worked. Meanwhile, Kansas, they win again. They've now won their tournament games by an average of 30 points. Are they the presumptive favorite?
I think so. I mean, if you do look who they played so far, I mean, there is a reason they've won by 30 points each game, but they've just had a dominant performance. I think the next game will be sort of more of a contest where they'll actually have to prove their skills for all our sakes. I think I turned it off with 10 minutes left in the game last night because Mason was just going off. It almost felt a little bad for Purdue, but yeah. I think,
as a tall white guy, I would expect you to feel a little bad for Purdue. I mean, that's basically one of the teams you can say that you played for.
I sympathize with them.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I think it'll be a very big contest next game for them. It'll be sort of their first real test, but I think if they pull out from that, it's going to be theirs
to win. Yeah, I mean, Cal Davis, Michigan State on a very down year. Obviously, Purdue we thought would put up more of a fight, and now they're going to play Oregon next. That's going to be very difficult considering the guard play from Oregon is just so good, pro level, and I think Kansas is the presumptive favorite, but I think we have to look at it in terms of the entire bracket. I think it's because of what you're going to see tonight in Memphis, which is having North Carolina, Kentucky, and also UCLA in the same bracket.
Exactly.
I mean, we thought that maybe the Zags had a bit of an easy trip, an easy side of the bracket. I think Kansas also has a rather easy side as well, considering Michigan State did not put up the fight that we thought. So let's talk about tonight in this sort of blue blood bracket, Kentucky, UCLA. Who's the person in that matchup you think is feeling the most pressure at this point?
I think if you put everything in context, it does have to be Lonzo Ball, just based on the week. Not that just he's had, but that his dad has had. And just talking him up, I think there is a bit of pressure on him, and just the performance he's had this season, he has to back that up. And I think there's a lot of eyes on him. I do think he can pull it off, but there's a lot of pressure on him.
I'm going to go everyone but Lonzo. But more specifically, I think Lonzo has shown that the pressure doesn't get to him. He tunes his dad out. It's kind of like white noise, I think, to him at this point. And I think he's confident enough in his abilities. I think the real pressure is actually on Mark Emmert, the NCAA president. Nobody wants LaVar Ball to go away more than Mark Emmert, because it's raised all these issues about the big baller brand and whether that's breaking into these amateurism rules. We had Sean Gregory from Time Magazine earlier this week that called LaVar a walking NCAA violation. I mean, that kind of stuff is not good. So I think Mark Emmert is someone who really wants UCLA to go out, so maybe he can stop hearing about LaVar for a couple weeks. But I also believe that Steve Alford has some weird pressure on him. And the coach of UCLA, I'm not sure if he wants to win this game or lose this game, and here's why. The Indiana job is open. So if he, being the Indiana hero that he is, wants to take that job, is it better if UCLA wins the whole thing? Is it better if they go out in the Sweet 16? What makes it a cleaner exit if he does want to leave Westwood for Bloomington?
It's kind of awkward for him, because if he wins, I don't know if there's really a way for him to win. It's like, sure, yeah, you can say, well, I brought you this championship. I did what I deserved, and now I'm out of here. And at the same time, if he loses, it's going to look like he's sort of walking away from the program and leaving them in the dust. So it'll be sort of an awkward situation depending on how things play out. But I do think if he does end up winning it all, he will have more of an argument for being able to walk away.
Yeah, probably. You can go out on top. Of course, Lonzo Ball hoping to carry the Bruins to UCLA's first title, Elite Eight rather, since 2008. Yesterday, I caught up with his former high school coach, Steve Bake. Watch this. Lonzo's in the Sweet 16. He's a presumptive top pick in the NBA draft. When did you know that he was this good?
I think, I knew there was something special about Lonzo when I first saw him as a sixth grader. But the moment that I saw that he was nationally one of the best players was when he was a junior, and we were playing Oak Hill Academy. We unfortunately had some tragic events take place. Our 6'9" center tragically passed away from an accident, and we had a kid transfer out, and one kid was ineligible, so we were left with Lonzo and his brother Jello, and a freshman, two freshmen, and a couple JV level players. Lonzo, because of that, had to play the center position on defense, and for him to dominate that game, he had to be the best player in the nation.
His shot is unorthodox. What did you think when you first saw it?
When he was a freshman, I had him shoot some pull-up jumpers, and the ball came right above his head, and I thought it was a perfect form shot. And things didn't change until kind of his junior year, where he started shooting a little bit further out, and he brought it over to his left so he can, get more momentum into his shot. At that point, I started working with him and just said, let's just be efficient. When I put the ball in your hands, just go straight up with it. I remember specifically that day that he made 23 straight three-pointers. It's a little unorthodox, obviously, but the timely, shot that he makes, it just, you can't really question it.
May not be pretty, but it certainly works. What was it like coaching all three of the Ball children with LaVar so deeply involved in his kids' careers?
Right. I knew LaVar, prior to the kids coming to Chino Hills. And I knew what, he was about. What you see today isn't what you would have seen back then. Well, first off, he didn't have a platform. He didn't, have a mic put in his face and ask, specific questions. And he would say something like, it's the players that make the teams, not the program. The program doesn't make, the players.
Flesh out a little bit about LaMelo, LiAngelo, the two next in line after Lonzo. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to see from them in the future. If you have a comparison, I'll take it. Sometimes I think comparing high school kids is a little unfair, but give us a sense of what they are like, their games are like, and will they be as good as Lonzo?
I don't think it's fair to compare them to Lonzo because they're totally different players. Jello is more of a scorer. He can really shoot. He has a great post game. He has more of a scorer's mentality. I think, he's going to have a different journey compared to Lonzo because he's a different player. LaMelo, it's kind of scary to think, age-wise, he should be a freshman. He's grown to about 6'3", 6'4", and, the way that, he scores, I've never seen anything like it. LaMelo, and, he has his flair, he has his strengths, he has his weaknesses, but, his strengths are just kind of unmatched. I've never seen anybody with his confidence and his scoring ability. And the thing that most people don't know is that his passing ability is very unique, and I would say in the top 1% of all high school, players. He has an unbelievable ability to pass, and I think that'll be, something that people will come to know in the future.
Coach Bake, appreciate your time and perspective on one of the most interesting and talked about families in basketball right now. And congratulations to your Fairfax Lions on putting together another fantastic season.
Thank you so much.
It's time for SI Now's Weekend Drive presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Our first stop brings us to the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, for college hoops. Baylor squares off against South Carolina for a spot in the Elite Eight. This is Baylor's fourth appearance in the Sweet 16 in 8 years, and senior guard Ish Wainwright knows how special it will be playing this game at a historic venue.
Not too many people can say they played a Sweet 16 in Madison Square Garden. This is like a dream come true to for me. I normally watch it on TV. Now I'm actually here, and I'm sitting where Carmelo and possibly sat. So it's just something crazy, something different.
The Bears' Achilles heel has been turnovers. They're one of the worst in the country, committing 13 per game, while South Carolina is 5th in the country in forcing turnovers. Expect a defensive battle. Next, we head to the pitch for a World Cup qualifier between the United States and Honduras. The stakes are high with the U.S. currently in dead last in their qualifying group. Bruce Arena is back for his second stint as the U.S. men's national team manager, and he understands what's on the line.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily describe them as a physical side, but they are athletic and they have good speed, and we're gonna play our game and not be too focused on Honduras. Really concentrate on the United States.
A loss would put the United States World Cup hopes in jeopardy. No team has ever reached a World Cup after failing to record a point in its first 3 matches. Lastly, we end with more college basketball, a highly anticipated rematch between UCLA and Kentucky. These two teams met in December when the Bruins handed the top-ranked Wildcats their first loss of the season. UCLA freshman phenom Lonzo Ball feels both teams have improved since that night at Rupp Arena.
To be honest, I don't think the first game really means anything now. You know, it was in December. Both teams are young, and I think they got better. I think we got better, and it's going to be a very good game.
There are 3 potential top 10 draft picks playing in this game. You won't want to miss it. And that's what's in store for this weekend. It is Friday, which gives us a moment to reflect, really, Connor, on the week's news. And we thought maybe we'd give them the tabloid treatment because this was an unusual week for sports news.
Just a little bit.
Everything was a little crazy. Obviously, it kind of starts and ends really with LaVar Ball. He's now the most talked about father or person in basketball, which is not easy to do. If LaVar was going to get the tabloid treatment, what headline do you think he should get?
I would probably say something like Dad impairs his teenage sons again. He's really just gone out of his way to make headlines, and it's almost like he's taken a page out of someone else's playbook when it comes to making up really outlandish, baseless facts and saying them for media attention. Someone who might be president of the United States, perhaps.
Whoa.
But, I mean, he knows what he's doing, and now it's sort of what is the next step for him now that Big Baller brand has blown up. What's next for him? Is it going to be LaVar Talks instead of TED Talks? Is he going to open his own hotel chain? I don't really know what's up for him.
We're going to compare him to Donald Trump. You know, it's a similar playbook now that you mention it. Any other headlines for LaVar Ball?
Yeah, I'd also say that Big Baller brand is killed in a tragic shark jumping accident because for him, it's really, I don't know if he can survive this sort of snafu where he's just gone and said he can beat Michael Jordan, and now he's gone and he's sort of set off the outrage machine, and he's become bigger than the brand. And it's great that he brought attention to it, but I don't know if all the attention is good.
Yeah, you know, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we deserve a little bit of the blame.
Oh, absolutely.
With the shark jumping. We're totally on LaVar, on the bandwagon, absolutely. Okay, that's not the only thing that happened this week in the news. The NFL always finds a way to get themselves into the headlines. Now we're all anxiously awaiting for this video that's going to show players what's the difference between an appropriate and excessive, much-awaited video, an excessive celebration and what's appropriate for players. So if you were giving them the tabloid treatment, what would the NFL get?
Something like the NFL consults middle school dance guidelines for new celebration video. It's really, I can just sort of almost envision Roger Goodell standing up next to the bleachers with his arms crossed and waving a flashlight and making sure there's a balloon between each student so they don't get too close. If you look at some of the regulations, it's literally, you can't thrust your hips too much. And it's, yeah, I understand maybe saving it for the kids and making it family friendly, but there's this, at a certain point, it's, do we actually have fun, or are we just going to make it so you literally place the ball down and walk away?
Yeah, so you're telling Goodell, go have a little punch, sit in the corner, you know, just leave the kids
maybe
alone.
Put a little something in the punch. I don't know, make it more enjoyable for yourself.
Maybe. I like that image of him with the flashlight. His kids are slow dancing like Frankenstein.
I mean, it's not like we thought he has fun in the first place, but at least try.
True. I don't know what he does for fun. Finally, back to basketball, but this one of the NBA variety. Of course, Russell Westbrook continues on this rampant triple-double streak. And for the first time ever, he got a triple-double where he did not miss a field goal nor miss a free throw. If you're giving Russ the tabloid treatment, What is it?
So I'd probably say something like Russell Westbrook on pace to set the record for most obscure stats in a season. And it's great for Russell. He's having an amazing season. I mean, he is on pace to average a triple-double, which has not been done since the 1970s. But at the same time, I think we're digging a little bit deep into hyping him up. And it's great that, yeah, he didn't miss a free throw, he didn't miss a field goal. But that is kind of a reach. I can sort of envision someone at Elias Sports Bureau just digging through the stats to try and dig that up. And I'm kind of curious to see what else in the next couple of weeks he manages to come up. Is he going to be the first person to do it with his eyes closed, maybe?
On a Thursday.
Exactly.
With a full moon.
When the temperature's below 40 degrees wherever he's playing.
Yeah. What do you think about the people at Elias? Like, is this like, do they love this? Or is like their hair on fire and everyone's freaking out? Someone just like pull the fire alarm and
I mean,
just
I think
we can't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much going on, and now it's almost like, what's the next thing? I mean, it's with LaVar. It's the same thing. As he said, this really crazy thing, and how are we going to top it? So, I mean, I wish him the best of luck at Elias, and I really hope they're going to be able to pull it through for the rest of the season.
Yeah, hopefully jumpers only from the left side on the third week of the month.
Maybe start playing with his left hand. Who knows?
Just to make it a little bit more difficult. Connor Toole, it's been a lot of fun with you. Thanks so much for sitting in on
Thanks
this
a lot for
Friday.
having me.
Appreciate that. Thank you for watching SI Now. We'll be back on Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Of course, we're going to have plenty of tournament reaction, but keep it locked to SI.com for all the latest news. Give us a follow on Twitter at SI Now Live, and enjoy your weekend in the Elite Eight. We'll see you back here on Monday.